This podcast is your host, the real Ed Oliver. Today, I'm going to be reviewing and recapping Kristaps Porzingis' season and giving it a grade. I forgot to give Rui his grade, so I'll do that really quick. And then also finally reacting to a roster projection to start off the 2023 season. Finally going to get to that today. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Just want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. This episode is also brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Bet Online, where the game starts. All right, so I forgot to give Rui a grade last episode. I gave Denny about a B minus C plus. I gave Kispert about the same thing. I kind of feel the same way about Rui season 2. He missed 40 games. I thought he came in and played well with the minutes that he got, being on a minute restriction to start out. Offensively, he improved from the three-point line, shot 74% around the rim as well. He's always been fine around the rim. He regressed from the free throw line. I thought he regressed defensively. Had some nice finishes around the rim. Still want to see him be more aggressive, but the off-ball defense and on-ball defense really has to improve. So the shooting, he got an A+ for me, shooting 44% from the three-point line, which is just almost insane. It's not a high volume, but that's at a very, very high clip, 44% from the three. And in today's game, guys are just shooting threes, stretch five, stretch fours. But he has to improve defensively. He just has to improve defensively. I don't have a problem with his shot selection. Some people do with the mid-range jumpers. I have no problem with that at all. And rebounding stood out to me too. I want to see him rebound the ball more. I think he's capable of rebounding more, being more aggressive. And it's about 1-2. No, he didn't play a lot of minutes, but still he should at least have averaged at least 5-6 rebounds, in my opinion, even with the time that he's gotten. Average 11 points. I feel like he should have averaged at least 6 boards, and he's done that before. So, but let's get to Kristaps. So I give Rui about a B minus, C plus, same thing in that range too. So let's get to Kristaps, man. The blockbuster trade where Tommy Shepard. And you can kind of say it's a win-win trade. The guys that we had to move on. The locker room was toxic. Bertans he was not shooting the three ball well at all. That was his one skill. And Dinwiddie, the rumors about, nobody liking him and just the fit wasn't good. He was a turnstile defensively, and him and Brad just could not coexist. The chemistry was not good at all. And he just looked like he lost a step and lost athleticism as well. Dinwiddie, he couldn't get to the basket and grenades and whatnot. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But for what we got, and we got a second round pick with Porzingis, it's kind of like, did the Mavericks know something that we did not know? Was there something medically wrong, an injury with Porzingis to the point where you would give him and a second round pick for a guy in Davis Bertans, who is an inconsistent three-point shooter, and a guy who in Dinwiddie, where you just heard nothing but negative things coming out of Washington and how unhappy he was. So I was just surprised that we didn't have to give up Denny. We didn't have to give up Rui. We didn't have to give up a first-round pick for a guy in Kristaps Porzingis, who was an all-star. Who's an all-star, who's a unicorn. They call him a unicorn for a reason. You get to see that every night in a Washington Wizards uniform, and I thought he showcased that. The way he can shoot the ball from the three, the way he can put the ball on the floor, the way he can – and I thought he had an underrated – he passed the ball pretty well as well. He does things that a lot of people who are 7 feet tall just are not able to do. They're not able to dribble the ball that well. And to be able to shoot and have touch around the rim and from the free throw line like that, just not a lot of people are capable of doing that. And Kristaps Porzingis is probably the one guy on earth who's 7'3", who can put the ball on the floor and get to the basket and create and turn around and shoot a 10-foot jumper on you, and it will swish through the rim. Not a lot of people are capable of doing that. So I thought it was a solid trade. It could be a win-win for both sides, but I think the Wizards, if Porzingis can stay healthy and mesh well with Bradley Beal, I think it's still a win-win. I'll just call it a win-win for that. But Porzingis, looking at the surface numbers, I thought he had a good second half of the year, and I'm really, really happy that he played, because a lot of people wanted him to rest and just not play and just hanging up for next year just because, he had the bone bruise. He did not play in a game with the Mavericks January 29th was the last game he played with the Mavericks where he had the bone bruise. Then he did not play again until March 6th. Now, granted, the All-Star game, the break was in that, gap of absence. But still, that's a good amount of time to miss. He had a bone bruise. I don't know how serious the bone bruise was, but it was kind of like what's going on. So from the surface, of all the games that Kristaps played in, he didn't score any less than 14 points. I thought that was really good to me. He had a couple 30-point games. He had 30 points against the Detroit Pistons. And then I want to say he had one more 30-point game in there, but he did not. But he had a couple games where he just took over. He had 35 points against the Orlando Magic as well. So he had two 35-point games. So just looking from the surface of the numbers for Basketball Reference, I do have some advanced metrics to look up as well. But I just had the stats here. Yeah, here we go. Per Basketball Reference, he averaged with the Wizards. He averaged 22 points a game and 8.8 boards a game and 1.5 blocks a game and 2.9 assists per game, which was a career high for him. So, and Wes Unseld Jr. really wants to use him as a big that can pass and facilitate a la Jokic. He did compare Bradley Beal and Porzingis to Jokic and Jamal Murray, which I wouldn't say that. Jokic is just a different level as a passer and a facilitator. He just has eyes in the back of his head, which Porzingis doesn't have that passing vision, but I see where Wes is trying to go with it. This is a quote from Wes Unseld Jr. as well. He says, I think it's going to be a nightmare for defenses, talking about Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis. So I think they definitely can be a nightmare. I mean, Bradley Beal was the leading scorer for a long time in that 2021 season, ended second scoring in the NBA. He scored 30 points a game multiple times. Kristaps Porzingis is a bona fide legitimate scorer. That's why they call him the unicorn. Also, Bradley Beal said that Kristaps Porzingis will be the most skilled big that he's played with and the most talented big that he's played with. So, but I do want to get to some more advanced stats about Kristaps Porzingis' season. And of course, what I want to see from him, what can he improve on now? He's basically a polished. He's a, I wouldn't call him a finished product, but he is what he is. He's a unicorn. He's 20. He's 26. He's 26 years old. Was the fourth pick in the draft. He is what he is. You know what you're going to get from him. You're going to get turnaround jump shots. You're going to get some post ups, mostly turnaround shots, face ups, pick and pop, pick and roll. He's a lob threat. He is what he is. He's just got to stay healthy. But I do want to get to some more advanced stats that just showed how good of a season that he did have. But before we do get to that, this episode is brought to you by Bet Online. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of the Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Make sure to check out Locked On NBA Big Board. Host Rafael Barlow from NBA Draft Junkies and author of the NBA Big Board newsletter is joined by Richard Stayman, Sam Ferris, and Leif Thulin, giving fans an in-depth look into the NBA draft, mock draft, player rankings, and of course, Big Boards. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. All right, so let's get to some of these advanced numbers here for Kristaps Porzingis, and I found this one. John Hollinger from The Athletic gave Kristaps a lot of praise. He called it the Tank Fest. That's what he called it. He said Kristaps Porzingis looks really good. Quote from the article. He said it looks really good. My concern that Dallas knew something about his knees that the Wizards didn't appears to be overblown. That's what I said earlier. Right now, he said because Porzingis has played at an all-star level since arriving in DC. He scored at least 14 points in every game as a Wizard, shot 36.7% from the three-point line after bizarrely not being able to make a triple in Dallas this year, and nearly double his career assist rate. His 27.8 PER and 60.6 true shooting percentage in Washington would both easily be career highs if maintained for a full season. This was basically towards the end of the year. He said Washington is 6-5 in its last 11 games, including wins over Dallas, Golden State, and Minnesota. which should provide some optimism for next year once they inevitably overpay Bradley Beal. I'll stop there. But yeah, the Dallas game where he got his revenge on the Dallas Mavericks, KCP said, "We want to win this game for you." I thought Kristaps played really well. The Golden State game, that was a solid game from him. Him and Draymond Green were going back and forth. They were pushing him around. They were trying to be physical with him. That's one thing too, the physicality of the game. He's more of a finesse big. That's just what he is. He's a turnaround jump shooter. He's a guy that will shoot over you. He's able to shoot over guys. Even if you have a hand in his face, he can still really see over you and really look down in the rim. Like the Lakers game where we came, but he had 16 points in the fourth quarter in that Lakers game where he was holding the ball over Austin Reeves' head at the high post. Russell Westbrook was guarding him. He was holding the ball. He just did a pump fake over Russell Westbrook's head. There was one time where LeBron was guarding him in the high post and he put the ball over LeBron's head as well. He was just looking over them and able to score over them. That's just how easily and how unique his game is. But sometimes he does struggle a little bit with physicality, I would say. Nikola Vucevic for the Chicago Bulls, I thought Vucevic got the best of him when we lost against the Bulls. There's other bigs when we played against the Knicks, Mitchell Robinson had 10 offensive rebounds. It's inexcusable. And I thought we got a little bullied here and there in a couple games, the Blazers game, the Rockets game. Christian Watson hit 8 threes. So I just think there were some games where we definitely got bullied in the post and got bullied inside, where I do want to see him be more physical. But once again, that's just not really part of his game. He is what he is. He's a finesse big. He's not going to back anybody down. He's not going to be like Shaq in the post or anything. He's more of a finesse big. That's what makes him different. It makes him unique at 7'3". All right. Another stat that I wanted to bring up too, this one was from Josh Robbins. He said, in the month of March, when he did get traded, only 6 players in the league have averaged at least 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 1 block per game. He was in good company with LeBron James, Giannis, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, and Karl Anthony Towns as well. Josh Robbins also wanted to say that his analytics stats are very impressive. Through Tuesday, when the article came out the last day of March 31st, he ranked in the 80th percentile among bigs in defensive rebounding percentage, the 86th percentile in block percentage, and the 91st percentile in assist percentage, according to the website Cleaning the Glass. So that's what we need. We need defense. We need rebounding. And Kristaps certainly provides that. I mean, you're 7'3", so you barely have to put your arm up there to rebound. But it is about 1-2, and also about your grit and grind. Who wants it more? Who's going to go out there and rebound and box out? So those are just some encouraging signs, some encouraging numbers from Kristaps Porzingis as well. There was also, this one is from Basketball Index as well, which I thought really, really stood out to me. This is from, B-Ball Index. From our profiles leaderboard tab, 51 players had a post frequency rate of 10% plus post-ups and played 1,000 plus minutes this season. Players most frequently taking jumpers on post-ups were 88% was Kevin Durant, 81% was Marcus Morris Sr., 72% was Kristaps Porzingis, 68% of the jumpers on post-ups was Carmelo Anthony, 65% was Danilo Gallinari. So that company, too, it shows we all know how those guys play. Kevin Durant is the mid-range assassin. He's a guy who will post it up and shoot over you. That's why his game is so unique as well. Marcus Morris for the Clippers. Is he on the Heat now or the Clippers? I can't remember. I always get him and Marquise mixed up, but I want to say Marcus is on the Clippers. Marquise's game is like that, too. He turns around. He'll face you up. That's what Porzingis' game is facing up, too. So that is just giving you context of Porzingis' game. He's not a back you down, I'm going to do a hook shot, left shoulder, right shoulder. He's more of a guy who's going to face you up, look at the rim. Maybe he can up fake you and get to the basket and get a foul. Another thing that I liked about Porzingis as well is him getting to the free throw line. I thought he did that. One of the first games that he got here, he shot 10 free throws in a game. And it was so funny because the Wizards, before that game, they were complaining about they don't get calls. And I want to say it was the Pacers game. And I thought him and Denny had a good connection. Him and Tomas had a good connection. That's something going into next year, too. That's a big reason why I was happy that I thought it was positive that, Porzingis played these last games so he could get some chemistry with guys who most likely will be on the roster next year. Guys like Tomas, guys like Denny Avdia as well. I thought he had good chemistry. Him and Kuzma, the few games that he played in, I thought he had solid chemistry as well. So he averaged 7 free throws per game. He was 5 out of 6. He hit 5 free throws per game. It was 87% from the free throw line. we do need those. We do need guys that can put pressure on the defense and can get guys in foul trouble. And I don't think we have enough of those guys. And he raises the talent bar. This team needs talent. It needs talent, and Porzingis brings talent to the roster. Somebody that you can use as a number one option on offense, or you can facilitate your offense through, who you can run your offense through. You can give him the ball at the high post and just tell him to go to work, or to find an open cutter, or do what's called a hockey assist, where you pass it to one guy, they pass it to the next guy, and he knocks down an open jumper, or he makes a layup or whatever shot that he's able to make. And I thought Porzingis did a good job of that. He forced a lot of double teams. I do want to find the numbers on that, how many double teams came his way, but you could see defense's game plan for him. So that would take pressure off of Bradley Beal as well, on a positive sign too, because Bradley Beal always talks about from the jump ball, Brad is getting double teamed, or defenses are shading to him, or they don't even try to let him touch the basketball from the jump ball. And Porzingis definitely can help Bradley Beal a lot with that, where you're going to have two guys where you're really going to have to offensively game plan for. So that is on a positive side, Porzingis being here. But once again, it's all predicated and it's all on health. Once again, health. Can he stay healthy? Looking at the games that he's played in the last couple of years, 2022, he played 51 games. 2021, he played 43 games. 2020, he played 57 games. 2018, the year that he made the All-Star game, he only played in 48 games. 2019, he did not play at all due to an ACL injury. So that's the huge question mark. The huge question mark is your best ability is your availability. That's just what it is. Your best ability is your availability. I do want to read some quotes. I always read about quotes when I do the reviews. I want to see a quote. I want to just say a quick quote from Wes Unseld Jr. Quote, when Porzingis rolled his ankle against Detroit, and he did have that 30-point game and they won, he rolled his ankle. I know you guys remember that, but he got right back up. And I was like, man, here we go. Is he going to have to sit out? Is he going to be done for the rest of the year? Are they just going to put him on ice? But no, he got back up and he wanted to play. That's a very encouraging sign for me. Wes Unseld Jr. quoted about that moment. He said, "Those are moments that often get overlooked," end quote. Quote, "We recognize those things as a coach, as a staff. A lot of times they get overlooked by fans or outsiders, but it's messaging not only to us, but to the group, to young players, that all of it matters," end quote. Porzingis also says, quote, this is also talking about when he got into it with Andrew Wiggins a little bit. Andrew Wiggins fouled Kristaps Porzingis, and Porzingis fell to the floor. He says, quote, "I didn't want to come out. I'm here and I'm healthy and I want to keep playing." So that just shows you that, hey, he's here, he's healthy, he wants to keep playing. He did not want to sit down and be on ice. So next, I'm going to come up with the questions and a grade for him and what I want to see from him. But before I do get to that, this episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Summer is coming, and with summer, you're going to need some food on the go. Built Bars are the perfect snack to take with you on family vacations. Throw them in your bags, in your kids' backpacks. Make sure that everyone has a bar so you are fueled for your summer adventures. All Built Bars and Puffs are covered in 100% real chocolate. That means that with Built Bar, you can eat healthy and actually enjoy doing it. Built Bar makes sure there is something for everyone. Know what my favorite flavor is? It's cookies and cream. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. Go to Built.com to get all your favorites: banana cream pie, raspberry, double chocolate, and so many more. They are all delicious, and new flavors are coming out all the time. Check them out at Built.com. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, so what I want to see from Kristaps is once again just staying healthy. Can he play make like Wes Unseld Jr. is expected to? Can he mess with Bradley Beal? That's a question mark for me. Can they coexist? The pick and roll, the pick and pop. Can they get along as well on the court? Is it going to be a your turn, my turn thing where, it just didn't work out with Wes. It just didn't work out with Dinwiddie and Bradley Beal. Now, like I said earlier, Brad has never played with. He said this is the most skilled big that he's played with. He's played with Nene. He's played with Gortat. But, Nene did knock down the mid-range shot, but he didn't really step out to the three. I do remember Nene knocking down a lot of jumpers in that Bulls series where we beat them 4-2 against Kirk Heinrich. But that's just the question for me. He's never played with a 7'3" guy that can put the ball on the floor, that can knock down a jumper, a turnaround jump shot like that from the mid-range, and somebody that you can run an offense through. and somebody that can just knock down a three and can catch a lob and can be a lob threat as well. So those are the question marks for me. And also Bradley Beal did say that Wes is, he's looking for a guy. He needs a big to shoot and facilitate the offense a la Nikola Jokic. So that's what Wes Unseld Jr. is looking for. You kind of saw he tried to do it in Montrezl Harrell, but that's not Montrezl Harrell's, skill set either, like a Jokic. And Porzingis, they're different as well. They really are. They're not the same, but I feel like Porzingis, his assist percentage will go up. Like I just said, he had a career high in assists with the Washington Wizards because, Wes is putting him in that role to facilitate the offense. So those are my question marks for me: is health, meshing with Bradley Beal. Can you run an offense through him, which I think you definitely can. I think we already know that answer. And playmaking ability, and also defense. I did like how he played with Daniel Gafford, so I want to see how they play together. I thought they played really well in the two games they played together. That's on Wes Unseld Jr. playing those guys together. Can he mesh well with Daniel Gafford? So those are some of the question marks for me with Kristaps Porzingis. But I like the pickup. I gave the trade an A+. Tommy Shepard, he's the master of cleaning up a mess for sure. That's one thing that Tommy Shepard will do is clean up a mess that he's made. All right. So I give him an A. I give him an A, to be honest. I love the way he played. I thought he played really well, man. Like I said, 22 points a game, 8.8 boards a game. You look at his per 36. If he wasn't on a minute restriction, per 36, he averaged 28 points a game, 1.9 blocks per game, and 11 boards a game. And the blocks per game regular time was 1.5. So I thought he just brought something different. The Wizards need talent. I thought he brought finishing around the rim, 3-point shooting, which, the Wizards are dead last in 3-pointers made per game, and bottom 10 in 3-point percentage. So he definitely brings that and just stretching the floor, and he makes teams. The Wizards need to put pressure on people. They need to impose their will on people instead of adjusting to other people. And Brad said in the press conference as well, in the middle of the year, we had the cast on his arm saying it's fair that he's coming back. He can't wait to see a lineup of Kuz, and Porzingis and Gaff. I want to say it was those three guys. But it's about time the Wizards can impose their will on somebody else instead of adjusting to the other team. So I'm excited to see something like that next season if Wes Unseld Jr. is to instill a good game plan. Gaff, having those guys in there at the same time. So I give him an AA+. Played in all the games except for resting in the last couple of games that he was able to play. So that was great for me, and I thought he just brought a different dimension to the team. And there were some games where he literally took over. The Lakers game he took over, the Pistons game he took over, the Magic game he took over, and I thought he did a really good job against the Mavericks. We won that game. All right, so let's get to the roster here. I've been procrastinating on this. I should have been talked to this. This is on Twitter. This is back from the mailbag, actually. My guy Tobiyashi said his roster would be starting next year. He said, can we get Brogdon for just Rui and KCP? Here's his team: Porzingis, Kyle Kuzma, Dyson Daniels at the 3, Bradley Beal at the 2, Michael Brogdon at the 1, Gaff on the bench at the 5, Denny, Kispert, Tobias Harris, and Sato. Those are the 10 guys. For me, I would change Gary Harris with using the mid-level exception, signing Malik Monk off the bench, and I would change Dyson Daniels for Benedict Mathurin. That would be my 3, an athletic two-way guy who can knock down a 3, who can defend and can jump out of the gym and can finish strong around the rim and is a really good off-ball cutter as well. I love Benedict Mathurin, and he's a dog too. He's a feisty, competitive guy when I watch him play. So I love to have him on the team. But Bill Cipher at TOBIYSASHI067 on Twitter. Thank you for making that comment, and that's just good conversation there. The other roster I'm thinking about is if we make no trades and we keep everybody, we keep Rui, we keep Denny, we keep Corey Kispert, we keep Kuz, we keep KCP, using the mid-level exception to sign a guard, or kind of like a veteran minimum type deal or something like that. I got to think a little bit more on this, though. I really got to think more about it. And then just drafting Mathurin or drafting Malachi Branham. I would love to have Malachi Branham on the roster coming off the bench. And at guard, possibly John Wall. I'm really thinking about Patty Mills and Goran Dragic, though. I thought Goran Dragic played really well in the series. He had a couple good games, and he is 34 years old. That's the only thing. But looking at the money wise, if you do want to get a cost efficient point guard that can, score and facilitate as well, using the MLE or using a veteran minimum deal where you keep your cash and, you use the money elsewhere and you don't have to trade picks or assets, I would take a quick look at Goran Dragic. I'd take a small look at him. And of course, John Wall using the MLE. I wouldn't mind him coming back, to be honest. So that's just some roster talk right there. All right, you guys, I want to thank you guys for listening and making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Make sure to go check out the NBA Big Board with host Rafael Barlow. And also, I'm sorry about that. Now make your second listen Locked On NBA from the first jump ball of the play-in tournament to the last possession of the NBA Finals. Locked On experts take you deep inside the playoffs with insight and analysis affecting all 30 teams. Thank you guys for listening. Hail to the Wizards.